Hi, this is Father Louis Skirty, and I'm here with Bishop-elect Robert Reed from Boston. And Bishop Reed is well known for Catholic TV as Father Reed. Bishop Reed, thank you very much for giving us this interview.
Oh my gosh, it's great to be with you, and great to have this chance to chat again.
It was a wonderful experience coming up to Boston and being on Catholic TV. And those other priests that you made me sing with, or a trip.
Yeah, they're tough. They're tough. You know, it's a penance, I know, but you accepted it willingly for your past sins.
And my ongoing sins.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Tell our audience a little bit about Catholic TV. Of course, most of them know it anyway. And your ministry there, a number of years. How did that all start?
Well, Catholic TV's been around for actually 61 years.
Before you were born.
It was the original Catholic television station in the country, in the world, really. But it was a Boston entity for many of those years. But about 10 years ago or so, Cardinal Sean asked me if we could take a look at sharing the wealth, because it's not possible for every diocese to, in this market right now, with the expense and the complexity and the politics of everything
right.
That television brings with it, to have a television station. It would make sense to be able to share it with other dioceses. So we kind of embarked on a epic quest to extend Catholic TV to as many cable and satellite providers across the country as possible. So we're in about 15 million. Fast forward to today, about 15 million homes on cable and satellite.
Wonderful.
But, of course, the times have changed, and television is not just linear. It's not just on cable. It's also over the internet
right.
in many different ways. So we have, for example, a channel on Roku, these digital streaming devices,
right.
New Apple TV, Amazon Fire, soon to be Samsung. So you got to kind of be everywhere, and so that's what we've been up to in the past few years.
That's great.
And so it's been a great joy for me to work with a tremendous crew. You met them.
Yes, they're
There's
wonderful.
30 of us here, and which is very small for a TV station, but they're great people, and they do the best they can with the resources that we have to extend the message of the gospel as far as possible.
Beautiful. And they're very dedicated to you. They're like your little apostles, I swear.
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
So your first experience with TV was when?
Well, when I was about 7 years old, we had up here in the Boston area a show that aired live on Saturday morning, and it was pre-recorded on Sunday morning. It was called Boomtown. That was back in the day when there were a lot of, live kids shows.
Right.
Audience. And it featured a cowboy by the name of Rex Trailer and his sidekick, Pablo. Well, I went on Boomtown, and of course I loved it. I watched it every
That's great.
Saturday morning. And I was just so taken by being in the studio and being on this live production, to say nothing of the fact that I won a snow cone machine. But this was the CBS affiliate here in the Boston area. It was one of the network stations in a big market, and
right.
I saw television for what it was, and I just was so taken. Now, a number of years after that, being a television viewer, I got kind of caught up in the Hour of Power with Dr. Robert Schuller.
Right,
and
right.
I just thought to myself, why don't we, as a Catholic community, make use of television in such a grand way?
That's great.
So I think at some point these two things came together in my mind, and I just got very interested in the use of television and media
right.
For the church. And I ended up studying television administration at Boston University. I got a master's degree in that. So.
Television administration, that's fascinating. And it certainly prepared you for ministry. Now, did you enter into that before you were a priest? Into television interests?
Well, I just maintained my interest, Let me just say that. And I always thought that this resource here in Boston
Right.
could be utilized in an even greater way. And so I was
Exactly.
thrilled, 12 years ago when the Cardinal asked me to come in and direct the network, because it was, for me as a priest and someone who believes in the use of media, it was a dream come true.
Okay, that's exactly where I want to go now. As a priest, you're evangelizing. I mean, we know there's mega TVs, mega churches around the country, and a lot of popular evangelicals. But I think it's about time we take a good hold on the market, and we're following your lead here. What was that like when you started reaching so many people? You must have had commentaries back from your audience throughout the country.
Yeah, we get a lot of communication, by regular mail, postal, and also, email, a lot of feedback through Facebook and Twitter and all that. And it's amazing, you would think that something like Catholic TV would be reaching predominantly people who are homebound.
Oh, okay.
Or, recovering from surgery, and that is the case, absolutely. Particularly the Mass. We broadcast the Mass live every day, and so the Mass is really that, and the Rosary every day are critical for people who have no connection to their local parish anymore. They're just unable. It's the church for them. But beyond that, it's kind of amazing when you go around or you read some of the mail, or particularly the electronic mail. The wide age range of people that pay attention to Catholic TV, be it online or on cable, and catch different programs, and it's a part of their life. They might not sit around and watch it all day. Few of us have the time to sit around and watch TV all day. Let's face it. But they tune in, and it's an option for them. And I just think that having a television network on the dial, and that's a little dated terminology.
Right.
That's very powerful for the church.
Yes, exactly. It certainly brings the church into the 21st century. And of course, we have our biggest hero, my hero right now, Francis, so adaptable to any kind of media, the FaceTime, the selfies, and everything. He really John Paul started, I think, in some ways, but Francis really has taken it and run with it.
Yes, yeah.
Do you think that's why he looked at you as a bishop candidate?
Well, a few people have said that. I don't know the whole process behind the process and how all that works, but I guess it must have been in there somewhere.
You are so down to earth. To say you're a bishop pretty soon. I don't know the process behind the process. I think our audience needs to know how ordinary and down to earth you are, and soon to be a bishop, because so many of our Episcopals are way above our congregations. Out of reach, and I think just your style of presentation is just so pleasant, and I want to say normal. That face, that's great.
But I am who I am. I've had a number of priest friends tell me, "Don't you dare change." So.
Ditto. Put my name at the end of that list. Absolutely. Just get better. Any personalities influence you as you I want to say starring, as you were presenting Catholic TV? Any outstanding Catholic personalities that influenced you?
Well, you mentioned Pope John Paul II. When I was a student in Rome, he was still a vibrant individual, and obviously the Pope at the time. And so, we had occasion to interact with him, both at a distance and up close. And so I just thought that he was a tremendous personality, be it on television or in person or before a crowd. And so certainly, John Paul II, I was ordained a priest, during his time as Pope. Going back in time, certainly he was only alive when I was a young person, but Archbishop Fulton Sheen.
Oh, right.
So rebroadcast some of his old programs on Catholic TV, And in his day, I mean, he was a media giant, and used television in particular and radio as well quite effectively. And this is outside of our Catholic community, but I mentioned Dr. Robert Schuller.
Yes.
One of the great moments of my life was about 4 years ago, or perhaps 3 years ago, I can't recall, in November, the first Catholic event at the former Crystal Cathedral, now soon to be, or it is, Christ Cathedral,
right.
The Cathedral of the Diocese of Orange. Magnificat had a day-long prayer, it was called, I think, a Day of Faith. I can't recall the name. In any case, I was the MC for it, and I stood in the very spot where Robert Schuller used to stand in a packed Crystal Cathedral. And I just, in those moments, I recall what a powerful impact he had upon me.
Yes, yes.
Even though we were, of different communities.
Right, right.
So
right.
I would name those people for
Excellent.
sure. And then my predecessors here, Monsignor Paul McInerney, who preceded me, and then Father Frank McFarland. Monsignor Frank McFarland was beloved. He was director of Catholic TV for 27 years. And Monsignor Walter Flaherty, who himself was a contemporary of Fulton Sheen, and who established this place, doesn't get much credit for it, but he went once to the then Archbishop of Boston, Cardinal Cushing, and said, Your Eminence, we've been just at this symposium in New York for this new thing called television. I think we really should be using it for the good of the church. This was like in 1951.
Wow.
And supposedly Cardinal Cushing said,
Ooh, we just got stuck. Hold on one second. We got stuck.
Who influenced me?
I'm sorry, Bishop. That last piece, when you said Cushing, it got stuck. Can you just restate what Cardinal Cushing said?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Good. Yeah. So anyway, Monsignor Flaherty went to a symposium on television in New York. He came back and had a meeting with Cardinal Cushing and said, Your Eminence, we should be using television, this new thing called television, for the good of the church, for the spread of the gospel. And Cushing supposedly said, Monsignor, you can do whatever the heck you want, as long as it doesn't cost me any money. So we've been, as a result of that, we've been self-funded.
I remember that. You said that. That's great. Beg, borrow, steal. Your studies in Rome, was that for your degree in theology?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Seminary. I went to the North American College, the Gregorian University, and the Angelican.
God bless you. That's your background. Bishop, we're going to stop right now, and we're going to pick this up in another section, if that's all right with you.
Whatever you say, you're the boss.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's rare coming from a bishop. That's good. I like that, though. This has been Father Louis Scurti with Bishop-elect Robert Sheen. I just made you Bishop Sheen.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Robert Reed, and the founder and participant and great leader in the Catholic TV and Catholic community. We'll be back for interview 2 in a short while. God bless you.